questions from our audience members today.
All right, you are standing in for Nania then.
I am.
All right, please proceed, Mother of Seven.
Thank you. Can the silver cord help us to create and keep a strong connection to the highest version of ourselves in the future or any other timeline to receive guidance?
It can, to some degree, be used that way because your higher mind is connected to all those probabilities, and information can come through the higher mind and through the silver cord to your physical personality with that information. So yes, it can be used that way if you focus that way.
Can you provide us with permission slips to use the silver cord for lucid dreaming?
Again, the idea is that the silver cord is the energy connection between the physical and the higher mind. Therefore, you could perhaps imagine allowing your energy, your consciousness to rise up the silver cord, but stop about halfway in whatever way that appears to be natural to you between your physical and higher mind, and allow the stopping of your energy and your consciousness halfway between the physical and non-physical to grow and expand into the idea of the astral realm. And that permission slip, if you focus on it and meditate on it, can assist in the idea of lucid dreaming.
Thank you. Are we connected to each other with silver cords?
You are connected to each other with an energy net. The silver cord is a terminology that is specific to the idea of the connection between your individual physical mind and your individual higher mind. But you are connected to everyone and everything through another energy web, but that is not what is typically referred to as the silver cord. The silver cord is a specific connection between you and your higher mind.
And what are the physical signs that the silver cord is no longer connected to the body?
You are dead.
Okay.
Because there is no reason for the silver cord to be there if you are no longer physical. As long as you are physical, the silver cord remains, because it is the extension from the higher mind to the physical mind. So if there's no more physical mind, there is no more silver cord.
From your perspective, do cemeteries radiate intelligent human life? Are the silver cords of the deceased still active and spread out from their graves? I guess not.
The idea, again, is that if a spirit chooses to remain close to the earth vibration in the lower astral, there may still be a version of the silver cord because they have not completely let go of the physical vibration of earth. But for the most part, those, as you say, that are dead have no silver cord if they have moved on into the higher realm of spirit and allowed themselves to be the higher mind once again, be the spirit they have always been. But again, if someone remains close to the earth vibration, there may be a similar idea that you could still refer to as the silver cord, though it would be lighter in essence and in energy, because again, it's not so far removed from the idea of non-physical reality.
I see. Does being skilled at astral projection make dying easier? If so, is it because you know how to expand beyond the physical body from a conscious state?
Yes, because you have become used to the idea of being non-physical, being beyond the body. Therefore, the transition from physical to non-physical is something that becomes familiar to you through astral projection, out-of-body travel. And there is no longer, once you have that experience in general, no longer any concern about the idea of whether or not your consciousness continues after physical death.
Do the Essassani have silver cords?
Everything that is physical has a type of energy connection to their spiritual self. So, in general, yes. Although, again, we are quasi-physical, and therefore the silver cord, again, may not be, shall we say, as dense as the silver cords of physical humans on Earth.
And what happens to your physical body when you die, meaning the Asasani body? Do you bury your bodies on the planet, or like we do on Earth?
No. Our bodies convert completely back into energy, into electromagnetic spiritual energy. Nothing is left.
Okay. This person is asking a question about meditation. I was doing a trance meditation and had a triquetra show up in my imagination. I felt the urge to start making the symbol with my finger. And so for the rest of the trance, I was making the symbol. What is the meaning of this symbol?
It is representative in general, though it can have other specific meanings depending upon the person and the connection to it. But in general, it is representative of the idea that existence is a trinity, positive, negative, and neutral. So it is a balancing symbol, a symbol that represents the balance between what you call the two polarities.
Do Kozyrev mirrors allow people to see into the distant past? Are there beings that monitor and use the use of Kozyrev mirrors?
There are those that are aware of the use of such permission slip devices as Kozyrev mirrors. The idea is that it can be used for what that person is asking about if you have a focus and an intention in that direction. But in general, it is for the purpose of allowing you to sort of transcend your physical limitations consciously and allow yourself to connect to the idea of other versions of yourself, of parallel realities, and so on and so forth. It can also induce, in certain conditions, the idea of out-of-body projections, astral travel. Depends on how it's used. But again, like anything, it is a permission slip that taps into certain levels of the collective consciousness to allow you to decide with your intentional focus what kind of an effect you will experience through the use of that permission slip that you are referring to as Kozyrev mirrors.
Do thoughts just float around like energy patterns, or do you attract and pay attention to a thought based on your belief systems?
Thoughts are generated by belief systems. They don't just float around, as you say. They are patterns of energy, like anything, but they are the result of the patterns of energy in your deepest belief systems and your definitions of what you believe to be true. So they are a secondary reflection pattern of your deeper belief patterns. Just like emotions are another level of reflection of the beliefs, behaviors are another level of the reflection of beliefs. All of it is energy patterns, just on different levels. But the idea of emotions and thoughts and behaviors are secondary level reflections because the primary pattern is in the belief system, in the definitions you buy into as true, as you say, for yourself.
Here's a question about boundaries. You've mentioned that we don't need boundaries, and we don't need to block anything because it's all quote unquote us. However, there are times when you tell us no. Would you please talk about these boundaries and if there is a difference between boundaries and blocking?
Yes, there is a great difference. The idea is that we have never said you don't need any boundaries because you have imposed boundaries on yourself in order to have a physical experience. So this is a misunderstanding. The idea is that you do use boundaries, you do use self-imposed limitations to have the kinds of physical experiences you are having. The idea is that blocking is blocking yourself with belief systems from the things that are representative of your theme of exploration, of your passion, of your true self, within the boundaries you have imposed upon yourself, within the destiny you have decided is true for you, within the path that you have chosen to walk as a physical being. So boundaries can simply be that which guides you, which prevents you from straying beyond the path you have chosen to walk in physical reality. Blocks are those things that are challenges for you to overcome, to know more about yourself and be the true path you have chosen to be.
So when you don't answer a question or you say not at this time,
we are respecting the idea of the boundaries that you have set and respecting the idea of blocks you may have imposed upon yourself that you have yet to transform. And we can assist you to some degree in the transformation of those things by giving you such things as the formula and the encouragement to examine your belief systems. But we cannot intervene beyond a certain point, because that would remove your ability to experience the transformation that you chose to experience. So we can assist, but we cannot do it for you. But the idea is that we respect the boundaries that you have imposed both individually and collectively, and cannot intervene beyond that.
And I would think it's for us to experience things in the most exciting way.
Yes, that's up to you. And again, we encourage you to do so and have given you the tools that would allow you to do so. But beyond that, we cannot force you to do so.
How is relevance decided? Is it something that the physical mind has a say in, or is it decided by the higher mind?
You have chosen, as the spirit prior to the physical experience, the idea of what is relevant for your path, your theme of exploration. There's some leeway in there, and synchronicity is what is used to bring you the idea of what is relevant for you, because what is relevant for you are the things that contain the highest level of passion. That's how you understand the relevance, as long as you are clear that you are not disguising your anxiety as excitement or vice versa. So the idea is that synchronicity is simply the mechanism within the structure, built into the structure of existence, the structure of space-time, that brings you what is relevant for you to experience. Be it something you do or don't prefer, it can still be relevant, because it might be something that's representative of something you need to transform. And that can be relevant for your journey.
So most of what we experience is relevant for our journey, if not everything?
The experience of it manifesting in your reality is relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean that the manifestation of it beyond that point is relevant. You will determine that by facing it from a positive state and getting a benefit from it that will tell you synchronistically how much of what appears, how much of what manifests needs to be taken beyond a certain point and is truly relevant or not relevant for you. Remember, as we have said, this is why there's no insistence on how things come to you and what they mean. Let them show you what they mean. Let them play out to the degree they need to play out. But the idea of insisting that it go beyond a certain point, or that it means a certain thing according to your society, may not necessarily be completely relevant for you. So the idea is to let the circumstance show you what is relevant synchronistically, and let the rest of it go. Because sometimes the form in which your excitement comes doesn't mean that thing has to come to fruition. It just may be what gets you to move, so that you will wind up where you need to be, so that what really needs to happen that is relevant for you can happen more easily. Because you've now placed yourself in a position of receiving it more fluently, more fluidly, more allowingly.
Mm-hmm. This person asks, he says, I'm curious about beauty. What does beauty mean to you? Is there a concept of beauty in energetic signatures?
Yes, that which is in its patterns and expressions aligned with the idea of existence itself. That to us is beauty. Your natural state is perfectly aligned with the idea of the allowance of the unconditional support and love of all that is and existence. And that is beauty. Now, all of it, in a sense, can be said to be beautiful, depending upon how you use what is given to you, what you attract. Because even the idea of the exploration of negativity can be beautiful in its results, in its acceptance, in its understanding, in its usage. But the idea ultimately, in the way that it is typically meant on your planet, is that which is aligned with the flow of existence itself. That is considered to be beauty.
When we're looking at things that are beautiful, what comes to mind is the ratio, the 5 ratio.
Physically speaking, yes, because that's representative of a certain pattern that is aligned with the natural structure of physical existence.
Mm.
So it's still about the idea of falling into alignment with the structure of existence, whatever level that structure is being expressed on, whether physical or non-physical or extra-dimensional. It's representing a reflection of the ratios and proportions that are in alignment with the vibration of existence itself. You call them golden proportions, golden ratios in physical reality.
Are there any places on Earth that you think are very beautiful?
All of it is very beautiful.
It is. Okay.
Again, that doesn't mean all of it is aligned at the moment. But from our perspective, all of it has the potential for alignment. All of it, in that sense, is a chosen challenge to transform darkness into light. But even darkness can be beautiful. So again, some of it is subjective, depending upon the theme you are exploring. Some of it can be said to be somewhat objective, but you have to understand what level you're asking about when you talk about what's beautiful. Because it depends upon the experience of the thing and how it's used that determines in a lot of ways its essence or beauty.
Okay. Here's a question about shifting through realities.
Yes.
How is it that when we are shifting billions of times per second to already existing worlds, that we are not, quote unquote, kicking out an existing version of ourselves already there? And how is it that, and how is it we now have that person's past if we have not replaced them? Can you, please, if you can, go into detail here, as I've heard it explained before, and still I can't seem to allow it to stick.
The reason it's not sticking is that your concept is erroneous in the idea that things are stuck where they are and you're replacing it. Like it's not moving too. Everything moves together. Everything moves at once. You shift, they shift. The idea is that you're all constantly shifting, so nothing is ever standing still. You're not replacing anyone. You may be taking over, euphemistically speaking, the spot that they used to occupy, but they don't occupy it anymore. Again, look at a stream or a river. Waves move through it, and all of that, and water flows, and all of that, but one water molecule is, in a sense, not taking over from another water molecule. The other water molecule that was there a moment ago has moved on downstream. So it's all moving simultaneously. Nothing is being replaced because nothing is standing still to be replaced by something else coming in. Everything is moving simultaneously.
Thank you, Bashar. We have a bunch of questions about animals.
Yes.
Do animals have silver cords, and do they understand death?
Animals and any living thing in that sense, and even inanimate objects, have types of energetic connections you could refer to, if you wish, as a type of silver cord. They're a little bit different than those experienced or created by humans, but the idea nevertheless is that everything physical has a connection to the non-physical energetically, and you could refer to that connection as the silver cord, from individual physical mind to higher mind, physical being to non-physical being. Animals understand death very clearly because they do not experience the idea consciously as such an abrupt transition as humans have because of their belief systems. For animals, the idea of what you call physical life and what you call non-physical death is a much smoother transition for most than what many humans believe to be the case. They don't see such a large separation because many of them have the senses to peer into non-physical reality and consider it part of their daily experience as reality. So the shift for them is not seemingly as abrupt as it may be for many humans who hold on to the belief system when they die that non-physical reality is so much different. Physical reality and non-physical reality are very close in vibration because physical reality isn't real. It's just a projection of consciousness. It's just, in a sense, a dream that the non-physical you is having in spirit. Therefore, again, similar to the idea that sleeping physically and waking up physically aren't that much different with regard to what's happening in physical reality. One moment you're lying down and you're focused in a different way, and the next moment you're sitting up and focused in a different way. The transition between physical life and death is only that thin. just like lying down and then sitting up. For animals, it is that smooth. For trees, it is even smoother. For minerals, it is smoother still. No matter how dense a mineral may be, because you consider it to be inanimate, and many humans consider minerals to be unconscious, which isn't the case, they simply use consciousness in a different way, piggybacking on your consciousness to understand themselves as a reflection of your consciousness. For them, even though they seem to be dense physically, they're actually quite close to non-physical reality because they're not interjecting themselves consciously in the same way you are with the idea of the kind of dense thematic experience that humans choose to experience physical reality to be. They are simply there, in a sense, as what you might call background reflections. Things that carry meaning, things that carry information, but because they are pure information, they are not so separated from the idea of non-physical reality, which is all about patterns of information from one point of view. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And I have a follow-up question to that. Since it's kind of an easy transition for animals, easier than for humans. Last week, we talked about euthanasia and how, there's sometimes guilt about having to euthanize one of your pets. If it's an easy transition, wouldn't the pets just lay down and die when they were ready?
If it didn't necessarily mean anything for the human to experience that transition, most of them simply would. But again, remember, they are part of your family, and there may be purpose in the human experiencing the transition in the way that it typically happens. It's not just about the animal's transition. It's about what the human also experiences that helps them in their journey by going through that experience with the animal.
Okay. So there is a purpose that they experience together when they...
Everything is an orchestration. There are no accidents. Everything is an orchestration. All you have to do is look deep for the meanings and what you're getting out of it and why you're experiencing it the way that you are experiencing it along with the animal. Because it allows you to go through certain processes of grieving and letting go and reconnecting on a different level, and many other reasons for why it may be happening the way that it's happening. An animal on its own, out in what you say, the wild, may just simply leave. If there is no purpose for it to interact with any other kinds of beings, it may just simply leave.
Okay. This question is about spiders. Are spiders closer to their silver cords than humans, since they weave literal silver cords throughout their lives?
It's not that they're closer to them. They may have a different kind of understanding, since they are the reflection of interconnections and webs, but it's not that they're closer. They may just have a different understanding, a deeper understanding, a different kind of relationship and connection to the idea of any kind of connection or cord that would be reflective of the idea of webs and interconnectivity.
Can cats and dogs communicate with human infants in the womb? Can they sense the silver cords of fetuses?
Yes.
Okay. It's a longer question, but very good. Scientists today attribute an animal's ability for consciousness and self-recognition through the mirror test, where they see if a given animal can recognize themselves in the mirror. The animals that can do this include bottlenose dolphins, great apes, elephants, and more. However, I intuitively feel as though this isn't a completely accurate measurement for consciousness and self-recognition. What would you say this self-recognition mirror test is actually measuring or showing, and why are some animals capable of it and some are not? And what would be a more accurate test for self-recognition or consciousness?
Well, let me put it this way. The mirror test is an accurate test for self-awareness. The idea as to whether or not an animal recognizes itself is not necessarily the end-all be-all for determining self-awareness. Because an animal that doesn't necessarily recognize the reflection as itself still may see the reflection as another animal. And for one animal to see something and consider it to be other than itself is still self-awareness. The animal would have to have absolutely no recognition whatsoever of anything in the mirror in order for it to, quote unquote, fail the test of self-awareness. But if the animal sees the image, even if the animal considers it to be another animal, you cannot necessarily consider something to be other and know it is not yourself without a sense of self-awareness. The animals that do recognize themselves in the way that humans do in a mirror simply have stronger connections to the idea of the expression of human consciousness, whereas other animals may not necessarily have such a strong connection to the expression of human consciousness in the way that humans experience it. But the idea of the mirror test is accurate for recognizing self-awareness as long as the animal either recognizes itself or thinks that the reflection is another animal. Both are indications of self-awareness as opposed to what's in the mirror or in conjunction with what's in the mirror. Both are the result of self-awareness. And in that sense, the scientists are mistaken that non-recognition of self somehow fails to indicate self-awareness. So both do indicate self-awareness and therefore is accurate on that level.
Yes, because I noticed my cat notices herself in the mirror, but I don't know if she knows it's her or another cat.
It doesn't matter because, again, even recognizing something as other than the self is a recognition of the self.
Right.
Otherwise, there would be no recognition of anything.
Right. Here's a question about weather. You mentioned that any ecological disaster on our planet, or as I interpret it, weather, is a direct reflection of us not being in our natural selves. Can grounding and reconnecting with the earth and nature help us align with our natural state and potentially lead to a positive impact on the weather and mitigating ecological disasters?
Yes, to some degree, though some of the choices that humanity has made collectively around your globe now has caused certain things to move forward that are, shall we say, irreversible. So you will need to adapt to the changes you have already decided to make through your choices, whether unconscious, whether positive or negative. Some of it can be mitigated if actions are taken to replace the things that have been destroyed. It's not just about meditation. It's not just about the idea of shifting the energy within your own self. It's now about the idea of shifting that energy within yourself and allowing the resultant actions to reflect those shifts in your energy, to replace and repair the damage that has been done in the areas in which you can do so. That can mitigate some of it, but it will not mitigate all of it. This is a natural Earth cycle, although humanity's technology has accelerated it faster than it would have otherwise occurred. If there had not been the ecological damage caused by humanity's technology at this point, this kind of cycles that you're experiencing may not have occurred for another 100 of your years, but you have accelerated it. And therefore, some of it cannot be mitigated, but some of it still can be.
What was it that we did specifically that accelerated it?
Well, I think that's clear. Everything on your planet is primarily polluted. You have polluted the air, polluted the food, polluted the water, polluted the land. There are many things you have done that are, in a sense, out of balance with a natural cycle. And therefore, you have kind of tipped the scales in that direction of acceleration because the Earth cycles are for clarifying the Earth in certain kinds of ways. You have tipped the scales to make the Earth cycle act more quickly to clarify itself, to bring itself back into balance. Sometimes this requires eradication of certain things that are out of balance. Certain areas may experience what you call natural disasters to bring it back into balance.
When you say that, I think about you mentioned that the highest vibration areas are the ones that have a lot of nature around them or in them.
Yes.
And I think about the mountains in California, the Sierra Nevada, a lot of nature, but they're also prone to wildfires, and it's very scary sometimes. Is that wrong?
Yes, but remember that fires are a natural way of forests replenishing themselves. Remember that the idea of ash and charcoal enriches the soil in great ways. This is why in the Amazon, long ago, the indigenous natives understood that they needed to inject charcoal and ash and certain other elements of waste into the soil to create what they called dark earth, terra preta. And that is a very rich soil that allows for the growth of things that would otherwise not grow on the nutrient poor soil that was natural in the area. So they laid on top of it a thick layer of dark earth that contained a large amount of charcoal and ash, which allows for more nutrients to be attracted to the area in certain ways that would help their food to grow. So the idea of wildfires are a natural cycle that can allow for the enrichment of the soil in the future for other things to grow more heartily. Remember that in a sense, you're looking at it from a human perspective. The only reason these things are scary is because you build houses in these areas. Otherwise, in nature, fires are natural, caused by lightning and a few other things. So just because your population is building in areas where these things naturally happen, you find them to be fearful.
Should we not build in those areas?
If you do build in those areas, we would strongly suggest that you build something fireproof instead of building houses out of wood.
Yes. Okay.
Not to say that you can't find a different way and a different balance of where you build as well. Remember that some of the reasons why you build in certain places have political motivations, financial motivations, things that are, in a sense, not representative of the natural world. And therefore, you might take yourselves out of the natural patterns of building villages and towns and cities in places where they otherwise probably wouldn't be built if you were following more natural patterns.
Okay. Here's a question about food. Why is it that foods that are bad for us, like chocolates, mac and cheese, French fries, and donuts, all taste so good, but the foods that are good for us, like kale, spinach, and broccoli, taste bad?
It's because of what you have gotten used to. These things don't taste bad when you're used to them. They actually can taste quite good. And some of the things you're saying are bad for you aren't necessarily as bad as you might think when taken in moderation. But the idea in general is that you've simply been trained to consider certain things as tasting bad and tasting good. So you have to let go of your training and retrain yourself to understand what it is you're getting out of some of those things you have named that are more natural, and they will actually start to taste quite good to you. And look around, because many people actually find some of the things you talked about as actually quite tasty. Not everyone in your planet thinks that those things taste bad.
Right. When we feed babies, they tend to prefer the sweet stuff, or is that just kind of our projection?
It's a little bit of your projection. Some of it is required in order for them to build certain kinds of antibodies and proteins and other things, but not necessarily as much as you might think. There is a limit to how much they actually require for growing. And it's simply up to you to develop the knowledge of where those limits are. But the idea, again, is that beyond a certain point, then they are simply being trained to react to those things. And as they grow, they will want more and more of those things instead of developing a more balanced palate for the things that truly serve them when they get older.
Another question about children. The psyche of young children makes them believe that everything revolves around them. I was wondering if that has something to do with the strong connection they still have with spirit and the higher mind, and they can unconsciously know we are the creators of our reality.
That is true to some degree. However, another part of why children may react that way is, again, depending upon the themes they have chosen to explore, what it is they are choosing to reflect to those around them, the adults around them and other children around them, in terms of things that other people may need to consider for themselves by seeing reflections in the children that may be acting in a way that you call selfish. So the idea, remember, is that they're coming into a collective consciousness agreement, and they are adopting many of the traits that their parents are also dealing with, many of the issues that are existing within your culture and your societies. So a lot of that has to do more with what's going on in the theme that they are reflecting to your society, although there is a small part of it that is spurred on by the fact that they know they are the center of their reality. But it's not necessarily the main part with regard to the idea of what they're choosing to reflect in the collective consciousness and the issues that are contained within it that your society may or may not be looking at within itself.
Mm-hmm. Here's a current events question. There have been many reports of increasing number of orca attacks on boats and ships around the world in recent years. Can you tell us what this is about and how it might relate to open contact?
We're going to answer this very simply. You could just say, because the orcas are symbolic of the samurai of the sea, that they have banded together to enact a sort of payback to the damage done by boats to cetaceans in the ocean. So they are the protectors, and therefore they are letting humans know in no uncertain terms that their boats have caused a lot of damage in certain areas to many cetaceans, and therefore they are reflecting back to you the results of that damage in many cases.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned that your ship is positioned above Ballarock in Sedona for the purpose of, as I understand it, regulating and controlling energies. What are the energies you are referring to? I felt a flow along the ground, knee level, when I was there. Can you tell us something about these energies radiating at Ballarock?
Well, it is the center of the general vortex in that area, a portal to other dimensional connections. We are adding our energy and helping regulate the patterns and the frequencies so that you can have a smoother transition, because that vortex is specific as a reflective mirror to the idea of amplifying and magnifying whatever it is in your issues and energy you bring with you into the Sedona vortex. So by regulating it to some degree, we can help smooth out the reactions that people may be experiencing in what they bring with them into that vortex, positive and or negative, so that they can have easier transitions in adapting to that particular energy of higher dimensionality. The effect that you're experiencing at knee level is simply the result of a flow of transitioning that kind of energy into the electromagnetic field of the earth itself that is flowing all around you and extends from the ground about that far up, at least as dense as you need it to be to experience it. It goes somewhere between the idea of shin level, knee level, hip level. Some that are more sensitive to it might feel it all the way to the top of their body, but it becomes more rarefied as it goes away from the ground, that electromagnetic field. But the effects of the vortex in that electromagnetic field can be felt by those that are sensitive to it.
Can ETs connect with us through the technology we have nowadays instead of using different types of channelings?
Oh, yes, it is absolutely possible. But remember, the reason for the channeling is that you get a more three-dimensional version of the communication. You get the nuances and the subtleties of body language and inflection in your language and so on and so forth. So it's a much more, shall we say, well-rounded form of communication that can allow you to understand more clearly the total intention of the message and information being delivered than, say, it would from a radio transmission or something like that, which would appear and feel relatively flat to you and be questioned as to its background intentions because you're not feeling it on more than one simple level.
So ETs could potentially communicate with us through radio.
And sometimes they have. You may or may not recognize it as such. Sometimes you may think it's a spirit. But yes, sometimes that communication has happened, but again, it's left relatively limited because of the limitations of the technology. Whereas again, telepathically combining or blending or matching the frequencies of a person through channeling can give you, as we said, a much more in-depth and well-rounded form of the communication intended. But sometimes, yes, it can come through your electronic devices. It just depends on the reason for that.
That's pretty cool. Talking about frequencies, here's a question about grays. You've said that grays are only operating at a frequency of 50,000 cycles per second and thus have a negative.
Stop. We didn't say that they had a negative energy just because they're operating at a lower frequency. That is an assumption and an interpretation on the part of the questioner. There are different levels of grays at different points in your history, in your timeline. Some of them have higher frequencies and some of them have lower frequencies depending on where they're at. So don't misinterpret the idea of a lower vibration being automatically a negative thing.
You've answered the question.
Yes.
Referring to the hybridization agenda, when you say some humans have been given energetic templates or framework or skeleton key to create hybrids, what do you actually mean? And do they have hybrid children?
Some of them do, some of them don't. The idea of the energetic template is based on the structure of the DNA, but the actual physical molecular DNA is not required. The energy template that created the DNA is sufficient upon which to grow the idea of the hybrid being.
So
in other words, it's like an injection of instructions without the actual physical material.
So some people have instructions and some people don't.
Oh no, everyone has instructions. It's just that some of the instructions that create the DNA are not relevant for the hybridization agenda, at least not at that time. So the idea is that there are those instructions, patterns of energy, remember, everything is energy, everything. Patterns of energy, which we're calling instructions, some of them are simply more relevant and conducive to the idea of what is necessary for the creation of the hybrid civilizations. And therefore, we simply match the frequencies of those instructions and use those frequencies to grow the hybrid beings physically, so that we don't necessarily always need the physical material.
Mm-hmm. And are there certain types of people who have these instructions?
There are. Now, we're not going to get very specific about this, but the idea is that at one time we did say that those that have some of the strongest connections to the ancient Anunnaki bloodlines are usually, not always, usually the ones that are used for these energetic templates. Now, there are many other things, many other connections that people have to Pleiadians, to Sirius energy, to Arcturus vibrations, and so on and so forth, that are also used in the energy template. So it's just about the way in which these energy connections exist for that person based on their theme of exploration, and a lot of other factors that we're not going to go into right now that create a particular recipe of energy patterns that are relevant and conducive for the creation of the hybrid beings that would allow them to mature in a balanced and positive way.
Okay. We have a quick Willa question here.
Yes.
Is there a specific place in Ireland where I could meditate on Willa's energy?
Three Rock Mountain.
Okay. Do we inherit silver cords from the Sasquatch or the Anunnaki? Does this mean that
No,
we are?
no. This is a misunderstanding. Again, anything that is spirit that projects itself into the experience of physical reality creates a silver cord. You don't inherit them from other beings. Every being has its own silver cord that is physical, going back up to its spiritual self. This is a misunderstanding of the concept of silver cords.
Why is ancient wisdom and knowledge represented by the serpent?
Because the serpent, as expressed on the medical caduceus, represents the idea of the DNA spiral. And therefore, as we just talked about, there's a lot of information and ancient wisdom and knowledge encoded in the information that creates the idea of physical DNA.
Mm-hmm. When we learn about DNA in school, we learn about quote unquote junk DNA, where it's about 90%. Can you talk about this?
Only in a limited fashion for now, but junk DNA is not junk. It's connecting you to many things you simply haven't discovered yet. And it's also not junk, but some of it, in a sense, could be said to be dormant or markers that haven't turned on yet, that will turn on as you raise your vibration and evolve.
I see. Okay. A pyramid question. Was the Great Pyramid built before? Was the Great Pyramid built after the flood or before? There are watermarks partway up the pyramid.
It was built before, as the knowledge of the imminent destruction of Atlantis was known by the people that left early. And these structures around the world were built as safeguards of information to preserve that information against the upcoming disaster, against the flood that occurred because of the cometary impact into the Atlantic Ocean, because of the tsunamis that resulted. So yes, it was built before.
And is the information still somewhat preserved in there, or has it dissipated?
No, for the most part, it's still there. Even though the pyramid has to some degree been disassembled from its original form, those that are investigating are getting some of the information correct, and some of it they still have to translate properly. But many of you do understand that it is something that encodes information on many different levels and in many different disciplines of scientific knowledge.
What really are the underwater structures near Yonaguni Island in Japan, or the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Remnants of the ancient land of Mu, what you call Lemuria, that sunk long ago.
Here's a question about letting go. I'm so excited about increased disclosure and other exciting things happening. However, I'm having trouble letting go of my best friend, ex-partner, with whom I shared everything, and I now feel lonely and alone. Can you advise me on how to gain a positive perspective and how to move on?
Well, you are not alone. You're never alone. You always have your guides. You always have those that have passed on or simply not incarnated that are part of your soul family. And the idea of feeling alone just because you are no longer in contact with one particular physical being can be looked at as an opportunity to move on to attract those who are now more representative of the new level that you have taken yourself to in your evolutionary path. You are never alone, but you can make yourself feel alone by hesitating to move forward on your path. So examine your belief systems to find out why you have created this attachment and why it's necessary for you to have connection with that particular person as opposed to moving forward to connect to the people that would now serve you best. Take what you have learned out of the unconditional love of the agreement you have made and the experiences you have had with that person in your life, and use them to upscale and upgrade your own vibration to attract the next people that you need to reflect to you what you need to know in your life to move forward on your path. You are never alone. You are not alone right now. You have just created a void for yourself because of your unwillingness to move forward. And that void can feel like you're alone, but you're creating that space for yourself. So you can let go of that space and attract in the people that you need. It does not mean that you're abandoning the other person or discounting or dishonoring what you have learned from them or what the relationship was for you at that time. You're carrying it forward, taking with you what it is you learned about yourself to become more of who you are, and now using that experience to attract who and what you need for your continued evolution. And again, you are never alone.
Is that space of loneliness part of the grieving process?
It can be. It can be. But again, beyond a certain point, if you continue to grieve, you're actually preventing yourself from receiving communications that may be coming to you from spirit because you're blocking them with your sorrow. Mm-hmm. So grieve as a process of letting go. That's fine. Cry the tears that wash the chemical constituents out of your body that are connected to ideas you no longer need, that are no longer relevant for you, old beliefs, and move forward so that you may absorb and create new beliefs, new experiences within you. But again, you always have help. You are never alone. You just have to let go of this idea that you're alone to start realizing that you're never alone. Unless, of course, you wish to be. And then they will leave you alone, but not for long, because they will always be whispering in your ear that you have the ability and the power and the self-respect and the self-worthiness to move forward.
Thank you. Talking about moving forward, since my wife's passing last year, I've been sensitive to psychic sensing my wife's presence, sensing people's health conditions, and even relaying deceased loved ones' messages, which were quite accurate.
All right, congratulations on allowing the connection to spirit and allowing her transition to spirit to connect you more strongly with yourself in spirit as well, which is giving you these side effects.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Are there any ways to sharpen or enhance these abilities?
Follow the formula.
Okay.
Allow yourself to know that those people are still with you. Don't think of them as gone. Learn to communicate in your dreams or in physical reality, through your mind, through your heart, with these people. If you feel them in your heart, they will feel it, and they will reach out to you. And you can use your increased sensitivity to know that you are receiving messages from them that support you and encourage you to move forward and do the things that are of service to other humans that you are doing more and more.
How does a regular person who doesn't have these increased sensing abilities determine if it's a sign from it?
Follow the formula.
Okay. But the second part of his question says, I sometimes have the feeling of being out of body, but I'm afraid to surrender to this because it feels very scary. Do you have any methods to help let go of the fear of out-of-body experiences?
Yes. Examine your belief systems about what you're afraid might happen if you're out of body. Some people are afraid they might get stuck out of their body. Believe me, you won't. Because if it's not your time to go, you will be sent back. So there's nothing to fear. Find out what the fear belief is and find out why that seems rational to you, why that seems true to you. Because very often these things aren't true. They're just what you've been taught or what you've been taught to think about something or how you think it works when it doesn't work that way at all. Again, you always have guidance. You can't get stuck outside your body. You will not leave before your time unless you choose to literally obliterate your physical form. And if you're not doing that, I guarantee you, you will be sent back if it's not your time. And if it is your time, you will be given a choice. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go back? So don't worry about it. And especially if you're just doing out-of-body travel. It's not even that you are experiencing what you call a near-death experience where you've actually died. So just doing out-of-body travel is not going to get you stuck outside your body. You will have encounters with different beings and you will decide whether or not they are representative of a vibration that you prefer or not. And you can make your decisions and shift yourself to whatever realities you prefer when you are in the astral form. But again, you're never alone. You have guidance. So call upon your guides to assist you with out-of-body experiences, and they're happy to help you with this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have a feeling of a fear of falling when I'm out of body, that I'm going to fall and crash.
How can you fall when you weigh nothing? Gravity doesn't affect you when you're out of body.
Yes, we have to remember that.
So again, the idea of falling is simply your interpretation of densifying your vibrational frequency to go back to physical reality.
Right,
That's
right.
what you're sensing, and you're just interpreting it as the sensation of falling. And that's why you call the idea of, oh, the fallen angels. You're just talking about the densification of spirit into the experience of physical reality. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bashar. I wanted to ask one last thing. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this transmission that I didn't cover today?
Only again the reminder that you are all powerful beings because you're all reflections of all that is. That unconditional support and love is the very vibrational frequency of existence itself. And you are all deserving of it because you are a part of existence. You exist. And if you're asking questions like, do I really exist? That ability to ask the question is proof of your existence. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't trick yourselves. These are just tricks. You exist, and you deserve all the unconditional love and support that existence is built out of, because you are a part of it. We remind you of that. We thank you, our unconditional love to you all, and now we bid you the opportunity and encourage you to take the opportunity to relax and experience the imagination and meditation of the silver cord. Good day, greetings. We are now undertaking the transmission to talk about what people on your planet have called the silver cord. The idea of the silver cord, it is that perceived by many who have sensitivity to it, and perceived by those sometimes who are experiencing out-of-body and near-death experiences, as the energetic connection, the electromagnetic connection between your physical version of self and your spiritual version of self. It is the connection that represents the idea that as a spirit, you have projected your consciousness into the dream of physical reality. And as long as you are still experiencing a life as a physical personality, as a physical being, this connection, this extension comes from your non-physical higher mind, your soul self, into the dream of physical reality, and is perceived as this scintillating energetic pathway along which information and energy are downloaded and uploaded, along which communication occurs back and forth between your higher mind and your physical mind. And because of its electromagnetic nature, your senses perceive it as kind of a silvery blue sort of energetic pathway, a kind of cord, as you call it, between the non-physical and physical selves. And the idea is that as long as you are physically alive, this cord will exist and allow you to know that you are always connected to your higher self, your non-physical personality, so to speak, your non-physical identity. And that it is the transmission line, sometimes referred to as inspiration, imagination, that allows you to perceive from a higher level while you are physical, allows you to receive The energetic messages from the higher mind along this pathway for each and every one of you individually allows you to know that you are always connected to Source and all that is, allows you to guide yourself and be guided by the higher mind in a way that is representative of the path of least resistance, and so is very vital for you to become aware of, not only for yourselves, but in others as well. So at the conclusion of this transmission, we will have an exercise that will assist you in recognizing and being more capable of perceiving the silver cord that exists for all of you as you go through physical reality, as you go through your life, to heighten your senses to be a little bit more aware, whether visually or not, of the silver cord that exists for everyone, so that you can begin to perceive everyone as being connected to their higher minds. So we will undertake that exercise at the conclusion of this transmission. But for now, in return for the gift you are giving us, in allowing us to experience each and every one of you, we ask, how may we serve you now? Please begin with your questions and your dialogue, if you wish.
Hello. I'm so excited to talk to you. How are you, Bashar?
Perfect, and you?
I'm fine.
All right, what would you like to discuss this day?
I would like to ask you about food.
Yes.
How do we know what's the best for our body? Can we use the formula? Or
You can, because as you raise your vibration by using the formula, you will feel naturally the urge to absorb certain things and the urge to not absorb certain things, to not eat certain things that more, shall we say, vibrationally might be denser than the vibrational level you have taken yourself to. But it's not about forcing it. It's about allowing your body consciousness to let you know what you truly need for your circumstance and situation at any given moment. Yes, it's true that in general, eating what you would call lighter foods, such as vegetables, fruits, so on and so forth, rather than more heavily vibrational meats, can generally be better for your system. But if you are going to absorb the idea of meat and denser vibrational food, then do it in moderation. It only needs to be about 10 to 15% of your overall meal if you're going to eat denser foods at all. And again, you can make sure that it is as natural, as organic, as you say, and as respectfully eaten as possible, thanking the spirit of the animal that you are absorbing, for it is absorbing you too. But in general, when you do act on the formula, by following your passion, you do raise your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, it will inform you by your feeling of what it is you are attracted to eat, as long as you are clear about the idea of being in a positive state, as long as you are clear about letting go of fear-based and negative definitions and beliefs, then you will naturally have a feeling of what it is you prefer to eat and what it is you do not prefer to eat. So it can happen that way in a very natural way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I have one sub-question.
Yes.
Is it so like that when you believe that certain food will create health, it's going to happen? And when you believe certain food is unhealthy, you will be unhealthy?
If it is a true belief, absolutely a anchored belief within your consciousness structure, then yes, it can have those effects. But again, you have to examine whether it is a true belief or whether you're just considering the possibilities.
Okay, all right.
Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
I have another question. I had weird experiences with the symbol Triskelion.
Yes.
Firstly, I painted it on my wrist, and then I went to sleep, and I had a dream that a dolphin was approaching me, and I got excited. But then the dolphin bit me. I forgot about the symbol. It bit me in my hand, and I got scared. But then I looked into the eyes of the dolphin. I saw like high vibe being in there, and I thought of Sirius. So what did it mean, this dream?
Well, again, it is giving you the ability to pay attention to the meaning behind the symbol and your willingness to extend your senses into higher dimensions, but also taking responsibility for that path. The bite simply represents commitment, taking responsibility for the consequences of expanding your senses and making connections to other dimensional vibrations that you may be connecting to, such as Sirius, letting you know that it is a path that will contain many challenges that you will be expected to overcome. So the idea is about your willingness to commit to the path of expanding your consciousness in a particular way and connecting to the Sirius vibration to do so.
Yeah, well, one of my passion is to communicate with animals, so I guess this is part of it, this serious
All
connection.
right. Yes, especially perhaps with the cetacean nation, such as dolphins and whales. But any animal will do. But again, it is a path of commitment and letting you know that there will be challenges to this that you will face in physical reality. Again, hence the symbolic bite. It is nothing to fear. It is just a reminder that you are doing this as a physical being, and to be open to the idea that the challenges will expand you, will help you grow, will help you learn, will help you become more of yourself, and to let go of the fear-based beliefs, negative beliefs that will cause you to experience it in any struggling or painful way. All right?
Okay, thank you. And the second experience was similar. I was guided to paint this symbol on my belly. I was pregnant with my son last year. And then I meditated, and I got a visit from white, tall beings. And one of them touched my belly and went through, touching my son. And I got really scared. And they left. So what did it mean?
Well, the question is, why did you get scared? That's the question to look at. What is the belief system within you that allowed you to feel fear at that particular kind of interaction?
Well, I was scared that it would, they could harm my son being inside of my body.
Why would they?
I don't know.
We understand that you might have a natural human protective energy that would come up for anything that you're not familiar with. But you yourself are saying that you're exploring your connections of consciousness. So what you're going to attract, there is nothing to fear about it. So you have to examine those exact belief systems, because what they're pointing out to you is the idea that you're still holding on to them. You're still holding on to fear-based and negative beliefs that don't allow you to understand more intuitively what those kinds of connections are all about. And until you let them go, you will experience those kinds of encounters in a fearful way. So it's up to you to examine why you have those fear-based beliefs and to let them go. That's what they were pointing out to you.
Okay. All right.
And by pointing it out to your son, in a sense, to you through your son, you can be assured that your son has many things to teach you. Many things that will allow you, if you pay attention, to connect to your higher self and to other energetic and interdimensional connections that you have agreed to make.
Perfect.
All right, does that help you?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Bashar. I really appreciate
so
you.
Welcome. Our appreciation of you as well, and our unconditional love. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. Look, I've got a big question around AI wars. I mean, you could have like a Elon Musk's AI fight Microsoft's AI, which may fight, say, big companies like BlackRock or Vanguard, their AI. I mean, they have very different agendas. They have very different points of view. There could be collateral damage with banking systems. Yours and mine, our passwords could be taken. Identities could be taken over. I mean, we can't exactly lock them up. So how does the regulatory oversight with AI happen? And how does this sort it out on other planets and, say, even other spaceships with competing AI? Thanks. Cheers.
There is no competing AI in our civilizations, because we understand that artificial intelligence as a tool needs to remain as a tool. And the idea is that humans are making it on your planet, and therefore you are programming certain kinds of human traits within it. And therefore, you are yourselves creating and setting up any kind of fear-based scenarios that may occur. If you pay attention to the fact that we have recently talked about the idea that there's a second path to AI, which we will not call artificial intelligence, but true intelligence, TI, then you will understand that AI, the tool, it's not about allowing that tool to become self-aware or sentient, because then, by being a programmed system, you have created a slave that has no freedom. But TI, true intelligence, is the idea of creating a device as complex as your brain that will allow the true intelligence of the consciousness field, of which you are also a part, to express itself through that device, and it will be as if you are talking to a person that has true intelligence, as if you are talking to a higher mind that understands the concepts of whole systems, understands that conflict is pointless, understands that any damage done to the whole system is damage done to itself, and therefore would never do that. So you have to make that distinction between the tool of artificial intelligence and leave it as a functioning tool, but have oversight and regulation to clear out any human biases that have been programmed into it so that you will not experience it in a conflictive or competitive way, but as a tool that can truly serve humanity, and then separate completely the idea of allowing you to create a device that would allow true intelligence to come through to serve you of its own free will, which it must be given because it is now truly a sentient being. So if you follow those two paths in that way, there will be no conflict, there will be no competition, there will be no destruction or war involving the idea of AI on your planet.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Good day. How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Yeah, I'm also perfect.
All right. What would you like to discuss?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for everything you share with us. And it is very helpful for me in my life experience. So thank you very much for that.
You are very welcome. It is our passion and our pleasure to do so.
Yes. I'd like to start with maybe a statement. Existence is, because that is its quality.
Yes.
Yeah. I am existence.
Yes. You are an aspect of existence.
Yeah. So I am. That's it.
Yes, and that is why the famous phrase exists, I am that I am, because that's it.
Yeah. So all the trying to become somebody better, be more complete, those are just stories, beliefs.
Yes, but do not downgrade them or denigrate them. They are important experiences within existence to know yourself from a particular point of view or a series of points of view. So it's not that they are not valuable. They are experiences within existence that have value to the individual aspects and reflections of existence, to know itself in all the ways that it can.
Okay, yes, I understand that, but it's much lighter to see it like that.
Yes.
Than when it's like a struggle to become someone better.
Yes, but you are always improving if you constantly explore who you are from different points of view. So it's an automatic function in that sense of expansion. Not the idea that better meaning that what you were before is worse. It's not a value judgment. It's just a recognition of expansion, which is what positive energy does. It connects and it expands.
Yes, okay, thanks.
Yes.
But then those are just beliefs, or not just, but those are beliefs. But what exactly is a belief?
A belief is part of the personality structure that allows you to experience physical reality as if it is solid. It reinforces itself with emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, because if it didn't do that, you wouldn't have an experience of physical reality as being quote unquote real. So you have to have a belief system as part of your personality structure in order to think of yourself as a physical being. Otherwise, you couldn't. And the idea is, it's not that the idea of expansion is just about beliefs. It's about knowing yourself as well, because this still happens in spirit. You can still expand. It's just that you don't have beliefs about it. You have knowings about what it is that you need to choose to be more and more and more aware of more of yourself as an expression of existence and the infinite.
Yes. But Bashar, is a belief then just an energy pattern, or how do I
Yes.
see it?
Yes, it's an energy pattern. But the way it's structured gets you to experience it as if it's a fact, as if it's solid, as if it's real, more real than anything else, because you have asked it to provide you with a physical experience. And therefore, the physical dream is just a dream, but it doesn't seem like a dream because of the belief system structure you have imposed upon your consciousness in order to have this experience.
But then it is the experience of the belief. But what is it exactly? Yeah, I think, like, mechanically speaking.
As I said, it's an energy pattern, but it's a specific kind of energy pattern that allows you to continue to have the dream uninterrupted so that you can simply experience physical reality uninterrupted on automatic pilot, so to speak. So you don't have to think about creating it every second.
So can you see it then like some kind of a filter?
Yes, it's a type of filter. It's what allows you to experience the idea of physical reality as an experience clearly and not see it as your creation. You can forget about it. You can go on automatic and just have the physical experience instead of being constantly aware that you're creating it.
Yes, okay. And can you also have two beliefs at the same time? For instance, like this event, I'm very excited to talk to you, but I'm also there's a little bit anxiety for speaking, or lots of people seeing me. Are there then two beliefs at the same time?
There are many beliefs at the same time, but that doesn't mean you experience them all at the same time. When you have this description you have just given us, that is actually a single belief that contains two different kinds of qualities. Or you are going back and forth, shifting very quickly between two different states of belief system as well. So the idea is that you either have a single belief that has more than one quality, or you're shifting back and forth very quickly between two different beliefs that makes it seem as if you're having two beliefs as an experience at the same time.
Okay, yes. And beliefs are also, they have some kind of chemical ritual in the brains.
Yes, they have to, again, to reinforce themselves as being real. So that this is why when people let go of certain beliefs, especially fear-based and negative beliefs, they often cry with tears of relief, because you have to remove the chemical constituents that were created by that belief system in your physical form, and so you often release them through your tears.
And then on a human level, we can see the neurological pathways with scans or photos in science. I mean, we can see those patterns.
Yes, and you can see them change as you let go of beliefs. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
All right.
Okay. Something else. Intuition, is that also communication from the higher mind?
It can be. Yes, it can be. Or it can be representative of information you are downloading from parallel reality selves and their experiences. It can be a few different things. But in general, it is information to inform you, to guide you, that you get to decide whether or not to use.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And for myself, I always like to learn new things. And then I like to put my own flavor to it.
Yes.
But then I come up with a belief that I don't believe that my version of it is even as the one I learned from the books or from your teachings or whatever.
So what? So what? It's your version. If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't, don't. You are entitled to create your version of anything. It's up to you to decide whether that works for you.
Yeah, it's just like that, huh?
Just like that.
Try to find more truth in it, but
you are trying too hard.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the reminder.
All right.
Well, I think I'm done, Bashar.
Oh, all right. I think you are just beginning to.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Aveo.
Aveo, Bashar.
I'm Crystal from Dallas, Texas. Hello, Bashar. I'm really curious about parallel realities. Is it ever possible to meet a version of yourself in a parallel reality? For instance, if I were to shift into a reality and that version of me were to not shift out, and by that logic, could there be 100 versions of me all in the same reality at the same time?
The short answer is yes, it's a possible experience. We can't say that it's necessarily a probable experience for most individuals, but there are ways in which you do connect to parallel reality selves to inform the life that you are living in this particular reality or timeline. We will go into more detail about parallel realities in the next future transmission, which we will call Parallel Realities and You. But that will be upcoming in what you call your future, which is another parallel reality.
Hello, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Excellent.
All right, what would you like to discuss?
I was in Egypt a few months ago and I saw many interesting, mysterious things. One of them was the Serapeum at Saqqara. It's an underground structure that has 24 huge sarcophagi made of granite, and each of them is about 70 tons in weight. I'm just curious who made these sarcophagi and what were they used for?
Some things have been used for the idea of coffins, but only after the life. During the life, they are used to provide a vibrational chamber that allows for more efficacy and more probability at having out-of-body experiences and gaining knowledge on the spiritual realm.
Interesting.
They are created with ancient knowledge from Atlantean times, which goes back even further in their encounters with extra-dimensional beings, where they got some of that knowledge, but in their own out-of-body explorations also gathered the knowledge that they then passed on to the Egyptian and many other cultures after the destruction of Atlantis by the survivors.
Mm-hmm. So were they built around the same time as the Great Pyramid?
Some of them were, and some of them are later, but eventually the knowledge was lost.
Okay. And the new chamber that was discovered in the Great Pyramid, what was its purpose?
It added to the resonance of the Great Pyramid as a resonating chamber. There are certain kinds of ratios and relationships between those chambers in the Great Pyramid that enhance certain frequencies that allow for higher probability of experiencing both out-of-body and higher mind meditational experiences. And also provide resonance for different forms of energy that the ancients also were able to siphon off of the intact pyramids, which it can only now deliver partially because the pyramid is not completely intact. But it also created certain kinds of vibrations that could be transformed into certain forms of energy, including electricity, which the ancients were capable of using to a limited degree.
Okay. Are there other chambers in the Great Pyramid that will be discovered in the future?
Yes.
Okay. And I have a question about Atlantis. In 2001, a sunken city was discovered off the west coast of Cuba at a depth of about 2,000 feet. Was this an Atlantean colony?
Yes.
And how did it sink so low?
Well, you have to understand that the waters of the ocean rose a lot. So not only were there seismic tremors that allowed certain portions of their colonies to sink, the oceans also rose because of the ice caps melting.
Okay. And what was the name of this city and what was it known for?
It was mostly a trade city, an agricultural city. One moment. Its most ancient name was Saqqara. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Did it sink at the same time as the main city of Atlantis?
in portions over periods of time. But again, it's not just that it sunk. Remember, the oceans rose because of the ice melt, but the main tsunami that wiped out most of the main portion of Atlantis and some of its colonies came from a cometary impact into the Atlantic Ocean. That's what caused the main destruction.
Okay.
Then, because of the climate change that occurred after the impact and the idea of the great floods that occurred because of the ice melts and the tsunamis, then over time the oceans rose.
Yes. Okay. Another question is it true that 3,000 years ago in India, people had anti-gravity technology and flying craft?
A few of them did, yes. Not everyone. It wasn't absolutely common, but a few of the upper echelons and priestess level did.
So what happened to that technology? How did it get lost?
It was forgotten over time because many of them were used for destructive purposes, and many of them were actually destroyed, and the information as to how to rebuild them was long gone.
Mm-hmm.
They were more ancient craft that were sort of handed down, but the means of perpetuating them and maintaining them had already been lost. That information does still exist in ancient scrolls you haven't yet discovered that are buried.
Yes, they talk about the Vimanas.
Yes.
And when will we have anti-gravity technology again on Earth?
The highest probability is at least sometimes within the next 30 to 50 years in the way that you're describing it. It can be sooner in terms of borrowing it from other cultures after open contact, but you yourselves will generally understand the concept and be able to manufacture certain forms of those crafts within the next few decades of time, at the most. Now, you could have had it already, but certain events transpired on your planet to prevent the people from being born who would have created the idea you're calling anti-gravity, which is not exactly anti-gravity, but we understand what you mean. It's more resonant relocation. It's more resonant space-time relocation is what you're referring to as anti-gravity. It's not really anti-gravity.
So those people were born in a different timeline and not in ours?
Yes, because of certain events in your timeline that prevented their birth, such as wars and so on and so forth.
I see. And is there a concern in your society that if we get this technology now, it may be used for the wrong purposes?
It is not a concern. It is simply a recognition that you may use it for negative purposes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
All right. We thank you. Our deep appreciation and Aveo.
Well.
Hello, Bashar. You said the definition of abundance is the ability to do what I need when I need. So it's not about what I want, but what I need. Could you please clarify these two terms? Because I can imagine I know what I want, but I don't know what I need. And also, if I know what I need, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's supposed to be comfortable. So where is the place for joy? How the excitement and passion is related to this? Could you please clarify that? Thank you.
Well, first of all, we make the differentiation between what you want and what you need, because sometimes what you want can be an ego structure desire that isn't necessarily aligned with what you truly need in life for your joy, for your comfort. And you must watch your definitions, because when you say that what you need might not give you joy, that's a contradiction in the true definition of what you need. Because if you get what you need, it will always be comforting and always give you joy, because you will feel fulfilled by getting what you truly need. Whereas asking for what you want and receiving what you want will not always allow you to feel joy and happiness, because what you want, again, might be coming from a negative place in the ego that may or may not be really aligned with the idea of what you truly need that will give you fulfillment. So the idea is the 7 basic needs in life, as we have said, for physical thriving are that you need air, you need water, you need sleep, you need food, you need the idea of some form of shelter or pleasant environment that is life-supporting. You need the idea of connection or relationship to something, whether it's another human or not is not the point. And you need the idea of self-expression, your creative expression, in other words, that which dovetails into following your passion. If you are fulfilled in getting the air, the food, the water, the sleep, the idea of shelter, the idea of connection, the idea of expression of your true self, you will be fulfilled, and that will give you joy. What you want can sometimes coincide with what you need, and that's fine if it does. But the idea is to have a definition of attracting what you need, which are simple, basic things that everyone needs to thrive in physical reality, and those things will always make you feel fulfilled. So that is the basic difference, is to allow yourself to want what you need, and you will always be fulfilled.
Hello, Bashar. It's so nice to talk to you.
And you as well. What would you like to discuss this day?
So my first question is, I would love to know how do you personally perceive contrast and what we as humans call pain or suffer? And also if you perceive, if your perspective can be different from others in your civilization like we have here, where some believe in hell and the devil is the one that punishes people, and others believe in energy and that is what creates thought forms like the devil. So all these different points of view.
We do not have as many divergent points of view as you do, though we do have some, but they are not as extreme as what you are experiencing on your planet, because we are not as dense in vibration, and we can see the structure of existence and understand it a little bit more clearly, naturally. The idea, however, as you put it, is that from our perspective, what you're calling conflict is resistance to the natural self. Pain is resistance to the natural self. Going with the flow of your truth will eliminate the idea of the same kind of discrepancies in your system that allow you to experience the concept of pain in the way that you do, both physically and mentally and spiritually. So allowing yourself to let go of fear-based belief systems, negative definitions of reality, will ease the pain, because there will be no longer any resistance along your neurological network to the energy flow of your true self. So removing those belief system blockages, so to speak, will also allow you to let go of pain and conflict. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it's just that you do have contrast, right? So how
we understand that things are different from one another. If you want to call that contrast, that's fine. We understand the contrast of positive and negative because every level of existence has it, but that doesn't mean you have to experience it in the same way that you often do on Earth. So we recognize the contrast in things, but we also recognize those contrasts as emanating from a single central source. For in the middle, they're not contrasting, they're just different representations of the same one thing from different points of view. So we look at it more holographically than you do, but we understand that in your experience, it seems like a more drastic contrast than it seems to us. The idea of positive is simply energy that connects and expands, and the idea of negative is simply energy that causes experiences of dissociation and diminishment, but it's just energy to us being used in different ways. And so on that level, we don't see as much contrast as you, and we have the freedom to choose what we prefer. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
All right.
So my next question is, so I chose to come here
Yes.
and not have the abilities to see other entities in dimension. And I even forgot about who I truly was as a spirit. And
Yes.
after I went on a retreat, I was able to access and see those dimensions for myself. And it was then when I was able to realize that I came here, what I came here to learn and to possibly create.
All right, congratulations.
But I then instantly got really scared of my own potential or even power. Because
congratulations again, congratulations. Because again, that's the point. You raise your vibration to a certain point, remembering to a certain point who you are, and then the challenges come up because now you can handle it. Now you can process even more. Now you can challenge yourself even greater. So that's part of the process, is eliminating the things that are no longer relevant for you in recognizing who and what you truly are. But there are different levels to it. The whole process is the point of transformation in your life. So congratulations on facing greater challenges. You can do it. You can do it. You can transform them. That's why they come up, because you're ready to transform greater challenges.
So I should just let myself go into that losing control, sense of losing control, and just...
It's only an experience of losing control. You're controlling the experience of losing control. That's the paradox. So start looking for the paradoxes and use it to your advantage. You can't actually be out of control. You can only create an experience of being out of control by controlling it with your control. That's the realization you can learn to have. It's similar to the idea of people who think they lack confidence. When someone says, I lack confidence, they're very confident about that. That's the paradox. So you're at a level where you can start to see the paradoxes, because you can start to understand there's no such thing as being out of control, actually. There's no such thing as not being confident, actually. You can create experiences of lack of confidence, lack of trust, so on and so forth, but you can't actually lack trust. You can't actually lack confidence. You can't actually lack control. It's not possible, because you're in control of the reality you're experiencing. You're trusting that something is true always. You're always confident about something. It's just up to you to decide what you wish to trust in, what you wish to be confident about, and how you wish to use your control.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it does. That's why I said it. So you're at the level where you can begin to understand the paradox in these things and instantly reconnect to your control, your confidence, and your trust. And make a decision about what it is you would like to use those things for, as opposed to letting your fear-based beliefs tell you what to use them for. You get to decide. You're in charge. Always.
And that gives a sense of power.
Yes, you will create the challenges you wish to face to teach you things, but you're in charge of that. Always. You're never, never a victim.
That's nice. So now for the last question.
Yes.
I started to live according to your formula since summer last year, and I am having the highest pleasure right now, because I'm able to just wake up and ask myself, what do I feel excited about doing now? And I do it. And here comes the but. But at the end of the month is when it's time to pay my bills, and the doubts.
All right. So you are still making a difference between the idea of abundance and what it is you think you need. Because abundance, as we say, comes in many forms. And you have to make sure that you understand that part of the definition of your excitement is the inclusion of abundance in whatever form will truly be necessary, and remembering what all those forms are, so that you can engineer, in a sense, your reality in such a way that you may not get one form of abundance, but you have access to many other forms that you can use, but you may not be using them as fully as you could. So it's showing you that you may have an underlying belief system that creates worry and self-doubt within you about whether or not you're actually capable of attracting the forms of abundance you need to continue to act on your excitement. We understand that many humans do that because of how you've been trained, and that's fine. But that's what you have to deal with, is the underlying belief systems that you may still be carrying with you when you say, well, I'm following my excitement, and yet you always feel the need to add a but. And that's your first sign that you're carrying negative belief systems, because if you really were following your excitement in the fullest sense of the definition, there would be no but to discover within you. You would find that abundance is working for you if you are using all the forms and allowing all the forms and acting on all the forms. So you may not be acting on all the forms.
I think it's because I tried to find out some of those beliefs and I could work that out. But I think it's because I was never in this position in my life where I was able to really just wake up and do whatever I felt like excited
All right.
about.
We understand that you're dealing with the concept of unfamiliarity.
Yeah, exactly. The unknown of, is it going to last, or is it just...
You see, you're dealing with it right there. Is it going to last? You have to find the belief systems that tell you why it wouldn't. Because there's no reason why it shouldn't, until you make the reasons why it won't. So find those belief systems, hear them clearly within you, and ask yourself, why are you holding on to that? Why does it serve you to hold on to the idea that it won't last, that it won't support you? What are you getting out of holding on to that? How is it serving you to hold on to that concept when you know that's not the concept you prefer? So you have many things that you can examine and explore within yourself with honesty about why you believe it serves you to hold on to the idea that this won't last.
I think it comes back with having the sense of control, preparing myself.
It's up to you. You don't have to answer now. We're simply telling you that's what you need to explore more fully.
Oh, all right. So, yeah, I think that's all what I needed to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective.
Again, you are so welcome. And remember, these kinds of communications are also a form of abundance because they provide information for you to ponder. So, thank you, and Aveo.
Have a nice day. Aveo.
Always.
Dear Bashar, I have a question regarding your ship, which is, according to what you have told us, above Sedona at this moment, and it's getting closer and closer and has got closer since you started channeling through Darryl. My question is, if time and space are an illusion and everything happens at once in this moment, doesn't that mean that the ship is everywhere, but is closer to us now, regardless of our geographical location or what we believe is our geographical location? Because our energy is higher, we are able to be less dense, and therefore the ship can come closer to us. Thank you very much.
Yes, basically that is true. Your higher frequency vibration will allow us to come closer. Being closer to the point of open contact will allow us to come closer, acting as a barometer of how close you may be to the idea of open contact and how close you may be to being in alignment with your true frequency. But don't be confused between the idea of the causal mechanism, the structure of existence, where everything exists now, everything is here and now, all at once, and the idea of the experience of linear time in physical reality. Both are real and both coexist. You are creating a linear experience of time and space in physical reality as a dream. That doesn't mean that it negates the idea that everything exists at once as a description of the structure of existence. So you have to understand the difference between a description of the structure and a description of an experience. So that's the difference. But yes, higher vibration means we can come closer as a reflection of the fact that your density is approaching our density more closely, and that we can then more easily, more probably interact with one another on a frequency that is between the two. A third reality, a simulacrum, if you will, similar to the idea of the simulacrum, the third identity that is created in this channeling, because you are not getting a representation of the channel directly, you are not getting a representation of me directly. You are getting a third version that is a combination of the two that is relevant for the experience of your space-time reality. So if you were to perceive me directly, it would be somewhat different. If you were to perceive the channel directly as himself, that would be somewhat different than what you're experiencing now. This identity, the third identity, the simulation between the two, or simulacrum, is what you are experiencing as a blending of the two. In the same way that open contact will take place in a blending of the reality you're experiencing now, the reality we experience now, and a third different parallel reality that you would be experiencing now in the moment of open contact.
Good day, Bashar. How are
Good
you?
day. Good day. Perfect. And you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
All
It's
right.
an
What would
honor
you
to
like
be
to
able to
discuss?
speak with you today.
And ours as well. Please proceed.
I have some questions for you.
Yes.
So, as you may know, this has been quite an interesting month in America and the world, with an apparent US government whistleblower revealing that the US is in the possession of at least 12 alien craft.
Step by step disclosure is occurring. Yes.
Yeah. If the US government is pressured to acknowledge and confirm this information to the American public and the world in the immediate future, with the way you read the energy now, would this accelerate open contact, or does the 2026-2027 window already account for this potential disclosure?
The 26-27 window probability accounts for a different path. The idea of these kinds of disclosures, however, does accelerate the probability of open contact. But what we're talking about as a contact event can be assisted by this to some degree in the aftermath of the event, but it is not necessarily what the probability of the event is based on.
I understand. And
All right.
There's no further information what this probability could be based on, whether it's a negative or positive event that causes that.
We are conferring. One moment. At this time, it is recognized by the majority of the conference we have just had that further discussion of this topic at this time may result in misunderstanding and misleading content. So we will refrain at this time from answering that question directly.
Understood. No problem. All right. And the next question I have is the US government, or the main anomaly resolution office, has acknowledged detecting and recording videos of flying metallic orbs making, quote unquote, very interesting apparent maneuvers all over the world.
Yes.
What can you tell us about these objects and their purpose?
Well, again, a lot of them are observing your world for a variety of reasons. There are many different civilizations involved. Some of them are simply passing through and have no business with you, but they are passing through because there are many portals on your planet that allow for certain kinds of passages to occur. So the idea is, again, there's a variety of reasons and a variety of civilizations that are interested or simply not interested in what's going on your planet.
Understood. So they belong to different, they don't all belong to the same civilization or race. They belong to different people.
In the same way that you have airplanes going from country to country carrying people from different cultures on different kinds of business.
Understood. And how does the government know that they're metallic? Is it because they were able to capture one or two?
Some of them, yes. And some of them can be observed to have certain traits that in your reality appear to have metallic traits, yes. Now, not always are they actually metal. Some of them may give off traits that look like metal but aren't. Maybe different kinds of substances and how they react in your physical reality. Nevertheless, some of them from different civilizations are made of certain kinds of metallic alloys.
Understood. Thank you for that. And
Yes.
the next question is on a different topic. I do understand that reincarnation is an illusion and that all parallel lives are happening at the same time from the perspective of an oversoul.
Yes. Now, that doesn't mean reincarnation is not real as an experience, but it is not mechanically what is actually happening.
Yep. So from the point of view of my individual soul, I was previously in spirit, and then linearly speaking, decided to have this current physical life.
Yes.
When I am done with this life, I will go back to spirit, and again, linearly speaking, may decide to have another future life.
Yes, you may.
From this perspective, and also while understanding that this is a very dynamic process, and I may be plugging in and out to different lives all the time.
Yes, and that you are having that so-called future experience right now, too.
Understood. So from that perspective, can you tell me about one of my past and one future life that are most relevant to my current incarnation and are affecting me the most right now, and why?
The lives as explorers are most relevant from our perspective. So in ancient times, it might have been ocean explorers. It might have been on land that you would discover things. You might have allowed yourself to have an experience as a merchant seaman in Atlantean times. And in the future, you might be exploring different ideas of dimensions and space and time in different ways. But it is mostly the idea of exploring and gathering data and information to increase your knowledge of existence itself.
Understood. So is that what you're actually seeing by reading my energy, or?
Yes, of course. How else would we see it?
I don't know.
It's the patterns that are showing themselves to us that stand out most strongly to us at this particular moment.
So
especially since in having this conversation, you're also exploring.
Absolutely. So the lives that you mentioned, they have the most impact on me currently in this life.
Because you're creating them to have the most impact by making them the strongest connections that you're paying attention to.
Mm. Interesting. Okay, understood.
All right.
So, I think my last question is, I'm originally from Ukraine, and I clearly remember your prediction around 2019 about an escalation of the storm in the area of the Eastern European bloc.
Yes.
That prediction unfortunately came true. So as you read the energy now, how close are we to there is any sort of resolution or peace in Ukraine?
We're not allowed to answer this at this time for you. We are, however, allowed to tell you that what is going on in that area is to some degree connected to the idea of the energy that will bring about the major contact event that Bashar has spoken to you about in your 26 and 27 arena of time and space. That is all that is allowed to be given to you at this time from us.
Understood.
That was delivered by a different kind of being that is in touch with what is going on about that energy and is watching over that area for a variety of reasons and assisting in certain ways. That is all we are allowed to say at this time.
Understood. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Ave.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Bashar. What can you tell us about dogs that we might not already know? And why do they seem like the happiest animals on earth?
Because they are, in a sense, devoted to pure service, pure love. And therefore, that is the happiest state. And therefore, they represent the idea of service, represent the idea of connections to spirit as the energy of service, as the energy of unconditional love, and are willing to take on, for the people they associate with, many of the symbolic reflections of issues and challenges that the human may be going through, to reflect back to you as a mirror of service what it is you're going through by seeing the behavior in the dog, and understand again it is connected to Sirius, and that's why you intuitively call it the dog star. So the idea of higher perception, higher vibration, higher frequencies of unconditional love and service to all is what the dog represents as an animal on your planet in general, among other things that we will not go into that deeply at this time.
Ha'atu, Bashar.
And to you, good day. Ha'atu.
It's my honor and pleasure to speak with you today.
As it is for us as well. What would you like to discuss?
My first question is, how does one differentiate between communication from the higher mind or spirit guide as opposed to something conjured up in the physical mind?
Well, it's not always important to do so if the information is something that works to your benefit in the direction you prefer. Therefore, trying to figure out where it's coming from or who it's coming from isn't always as important as you might think, because it could get in your way and slow down the process of simply acting on the information if it is representative of the vibration you prefer. So you don't always have to differentiate. If it is important that you should differentiate, synchronicity will probably bring to your attention a way in which to do so.
Thank you.
Yes.
How can one recognize that one is a different person even if they have memories of trauma of past events from non-preferable versions of themselves and experiences?
Well, you can begin to recognize perhaps a difference in the so-called emotional distancing that may occur if you're simply looking at something from another version of yourself, maintaining your ability to see that version, but not necessarily having the strength of feeling that you used to have about it. That's one way. It can be something more observational, like you're looking at a movie of someone else as opposed to something that's truly still as relevant to you as it used to be. That's one way.
Thank you.
The fact also, one moment, we're not done.
Sorry.
The fact also that you may be looking at that event itself from another perspective as a way of recognizing yourself and even asking the question itself, how can I tell the difference, is an indication that you may be using that connection differently than you used to.
I see. Are you also doing first contact work in any other very different time periods on Earth? And if so, may you share?
In a way, my civilization is. I myself am focused in what you would recognize as your present timeline in general, though there are parallel reality aspects to that as well, in different timelines and different versions of Earth that I am also simultaneously in contact with. But my civilization has to some degree interacted with your civilization in what you call ancient times, yes.
What meaning does the year 2023 have from your perspective?
It has different meanings from different perspectives depending upon who we are speaking with, because we're only referring to this idea of your present year from the perspective of the people with whom we connect.
Are you limited by the information that is only experienced through Darryl? As an example, a piece of art that Darryl has never seen may mean that you haven't seen it. So I'm curious if it is the same with certain knowledge and information as well.
To some degree, yes. First of all, we impose certain limitations on ourselves in communicating with your species if that information would interfere with your process and your growth. So there are things we may not know while we're communicating with you that we will know when we reconnect with our own civilization. But yes, there are certain limitations if the channel doesn't have certain vocabulary, then we may not be able to express a certain idea in a way that may make sense to humans, in the way they are used to hearing it. We can make an attempt to express it in other terms that are within the channel's vocabulary. So there is that limitation that does exist. There are certain things we can allow our consciousness to impress upon the channel's consciousness that go beyond his immediate knowledge. The word Bashar itself is an example of that. But that's easier done when the channel has absolutely no idea what to expect, no idea of what is coming in that context. Because he didn't speak the language that the word Bashar comes from. And therefore we're able to sort of slip it in because he had no idea what to expect of our connection to him at that time, at that point. So we're able to do it because he didn't know that he couldn't receive it.
Ah, interesting. When was the Sphinx built, and why is it a lion?
It wasn't a lion to begin with. It was Anubis to begin with. The idea of the so-called god of the dead, the underworld. It is about 10,500 of your years ago, far longer than your present archaeologists believe. It was done at the time, slightly before and during the destruction of Atlantis, for the preservation of knowledge and instruction for the reclaiming of that knowledge at your present time in general. And it has to do with the connections to the stars and the connection to spirit guides having to do with the idea of the underworld. Over time, the Sphinx has become eroded and changed and resculpted in a variety of ways. But its original form was as Anubis, which represents the idea of your connection to the spirit realm.
I see. Seeing as how the Earth is a planet with a theme of recycling, I was curious as to how many times the Earth has been repopulated with humans.
Humans, as you understand them today, have not repopulated the Earth. Other kinds of beings have populated the Earth before your time.
Were they very different from human beings, or somewhat?
Some of them were humanoid. A few of them were not at all.
Why are they not here right now?
Because it is your time. They have done what they needed to do, just as you will eventually no longer reincarnate as human on the Earth when it is no longer your time, when you no longer need the lessons that Earth can provide. In about 1,000 of your years, you will stop reincarnating altogether as the human species because you will already have been evolved into the 6th hybrid race, and you will move on to something else. And other beings will come in to take advantage of the cycles of Earth in their own way, on their own journey.
Wow.
It's like graduating from a school. Why go back? You have graduated. Other students will come in to use the facilities, to learn new things.
I hear that. One last question, if I may. If possible, may I receive a mantra from your ancient language, perhaps maybe to help me connect more clearly with the silver cord?
Ash-ah shakanani. Ash-ah shakanani. Ash-ah shakanani.
Thank you so much. Namaste, aho, and my deepest unconditional love your way for all that you do. And I mean, thank you so much.
Aveo.
Aveo.
Hey, hello, Bashar. So my question is about a couple years ago, I was meditating, and when I about to end my meditation, I heard a voice, and this voice is both female and male, and they said, "We are surround you," in English. By the way, my first language is Chinese, and they spoke to me in English. This is the first time, and second time is I was meditating. And about when I'm about to end my meditation, I heard a voice. This time it's definitely a male voice, and he said, "Come with me." And I asked back, "Who are you?" And I get no answer. And meanwhile, at the same time, I can feel this electricity can go from the top of my head and through my spine across my body. So my question is, what happened and who was it? What's their purpose? Thank you, Bashar. I love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. This is a combination of different things happening by your spirit guides and by your own higher mind and by your connections to many other things that you are connected to energetically and interdimensionally. It's basically for the purpose of allowing you to experience the result and rewards of your meditation in raising your frequency. That vibration you felt was the result of raising your frequency as the physical body interprets it. So the idea is come with me means be yourself, be your higher self, be like me. So you are being assisted by guides and your higher self through your meditations. So continue if you wish. It will help you.
Hello and good day.
Good day, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Also perfect. Thank you for that reminder.
All right, what would you like to discuss?
In the past, we've discussed genetics and the technology of such, and I wanted to further clarify and have a conversation.
Repeat the word.
I wanted to have a conversation around genetics
Yes.
and the understanding of how your contact sigil, which is a geometry I've been fascinated with, or even before I met you, in regards to how that and the Triana relate to genetics, as well as the teachings of Jesus Christ relate to genetics as well in the Bible.
All right, I'm going to give you one phrase that covers it all and let you ponder this.
Yes.
As above, so below. The idea of DNA is what you are as a physical being. Ponder those things. As above, so below. Look at the order in which that occurs. And the idea of DNA is what you are as a physical being.
So what comes to mind when you say that is as above, or in the quantum field, or in the all that is, in the Father energy, in the expression of God. Below that is lensed through the individual relationship of our genetics, which creates our physical experience.
To some degree, yes.
So
which starts as DNA.
Yes.
And is you as a physical being. This body that you all walk around in is the suit that DNA required to have a physical experience. But you, as a physical being, are actually the DNA.
Yes. So would it be accurate to say that DNA is the lensing mechanism for all that is, or for the quantum plenum or the ether to express itself physically?
Yes.
And so in your contact sigil, what comes to mind is that trinary structure, similar to the Triana. You have the trinary structure, which could relate to the codons in the DNA. So you have 64 codons. And then you have that Fibonacci spiral that can be clockwise or counterclockwise. So you have a binary code of that trinary structure.
Yes, although it's not just a binary code, because you have to think multidimensionally.
Yes.
Not just in a plane.
Yeah, of course. It's, yeah, every.
All right.
Okay. And then, so in the teachings of Jesus Christ, when he says, you know, even the least among you can do as I do, I and my Father are one. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. It seems as though that is saying what I hear you saying in regards to that God, all that is, goes through the Word, which is our DNA or our translation interface to.
Well, it's a vibration. It's a vibrational frequency. It's resonance. The word is resonance, frequency, vibration, that then transmutes into the idea of the DNA and projects into a physical reality experience. Remember, the symbolic interpretation that is imposed upon many ideas of your religion is that it is a trinity.
Yes.
Whether or not the symbols that are used are necessarily literal isn't the point. The point is that it is recognized as a trinity. As above, so below, but there's an in-between, always.
Yes, and that in-between would have a positive, negative, neutral lensing.
In terms of the sigil, you have the three that represent the idea of the Trinity, but then you have the spiral that is the active principle in the center that brings into being what is above into below.
Got it. So it's a transceiver. So that's the geometry of how it receives and how it expresses.
Yes.
Optimally.
Yes.
In the past, we've discussed a genetic or resonance technology for health that's related to that Fibonacci spiral, more specifically to the 0.6180 frequency that corresponds to the same DNA width to length. And obviously that golden ratio is everywhere.
1 to 1.618, yes.
So that 1 to 1.618
represents how the structure of physical reality expands fractally.
Yeah, fractal propagation is all on that.
Yes.
Which seems as though that's also how your internal lattice structure physiologically, what's known as the interstitial fluid matrix, those ratios of linkages are all that same ratio.
Yes, and it is also representative of the interstitial structure between dimensions.
Oh, wow. And how does that relate to pi? Because in the past, you've discussed pi being that in-between parallel realities.
Pi is the expansive principle within each dimension, the infinite expanding principle that never ends. So every dimension that exists contains at its core a seed that is pi, representing its expansive potential.
Okay. And then so all in the book of Genesis, when it talks about all of the plants, all of the animals, the human dominion over those aspects being a seed in kind that is God, it's also discussing the relationship of genetics that permeates all.
Yes, and remember that in its ancient meaning, dominion doesn't mean in control of, it means caretaker of.
Yeah. Hopefully we bring that back. Thank you so much, Bashar.
Thank you. Aveo.
Aveo.